I call upon the spirit of the owl, messenger of wisdom. Welcome to the Temple of the Owl. Merry meet, seekers of knowledge. I am your host, Matt's Owl, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Sending you guys some good vibes and positivity your way if you need them out there. Here at the Temple of the Owl, located deep in the forests of Northern California. In this episode, we will be discussing gods and goddesses in pagan traditions. This is where we talk about magic and spirituality on all levels, but it's through the perspective of a modern witch. As always, these are just ideas to help you live a magical life and think about things differently. Take the information and do what you will. Thank you guys for listening and your support. Check out templeoftheowl.com. Thank you for listening on Spotify and YouTube, and special thank you for those listening on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. All the episodes are up on Temple of the Owl, and we're still doing new episodes every Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Well, I like to start the show with what I call the MOD, or the Message of the Day. It's a quote that I find that helps me explain the show topic. And today's quote is, this comes from one of the most famous texts in modern paganism. It comes from the author Doreen Valiente. And it comes from The Charge of the Goddess, which is a poem that she wrote that kind of emphasizes all these stuff we talk about in paganism and in witchcraft. And the quote is, "All acts of love and pleasure are my rituals." And I like that because, it helps me explain how these gods and these goddesses are important to us and how they're there to help us. So, who are the gods? Tonight, we're asking one of the most oldest and important questions in human history. Who are the gods? For thousands of years, witches, shamans, priests and priestesses, mystics, and ordinary people have looked beyond the physical world and sought guidance from divine beings. These gods and goddesses were not simply characters in stories. They were seen as living powers that govern nature, the seasons, the stars, love, war, wisdom, death, fertility, and magic itself. But why do witches call upon the gods? Why have these ancient deities remained important for thousands of years? And who are the most influential gods and goddesses found within modern paganism and witchcraft today? So let's light a candle, settle into sacred space, and join me as we journey into the world of the gods. Now, why do witches call upon the gods? In ancient witchcraft and folk magic, practitioners worked with divine powers. The gods represented forces larger than ourselves. A witch might call upon a goddess of wisdom for guidance, a god of the hunt for strength, the goddess of the moon for intuition, or the god of underworld for ancestor work. The gods act as teachers, guides, protectors, embodiments of natural forces, and sources of inspiration. For many modern witches, working with the deity is not about a worship in a traditional sense. It's about building a relationship. Now, one story I like to tell is the story comes from a Native American creation story. And it goes like this. The whole world is a dream, and the original dreamer wanted to share the dream with others. So he created other dreamers. Each new dreamer dreamed up all of creation. There was a dreamer of the sky, the sun, the moon, and the earth. There was a dreamer of trees and rocks, rivers and oceans, and so forth. Now, I believe what I'm talking about here is called archetypical beings. So So archetype is basically saying that there's an energy of this specific god. And there are many different names and forms, many different faces of the same creative energy. I think of it as they change masks. In all pantheons, they're the same gods and goddesses, just different names across culture, time, and location. In modern pop culture, we have the stereotypes of the same gods with different faces. Some of these examples include how Diana, Isis, and Artemis are all moon goddesses. Hermes, Thoth, and Mercury are all messenger gods. Osiris, Odin, and even Jesus Christ are sacrificed and resurrected gods. Some more archetypes: the Earth Mother, and the Greek goddess named Gaia. We see her grow in the springtime and die in the winter, only to come back again next spring. We have sky gods like Zeus and Thor. But in Egypt, they had a sky goddess named Nut. But they worshipped Amun-Ra, the literal sun, as a god. For moon goddesses, the moon holds feminine power. The moon cycles affect women. And we have the goddesses Artemis, Selene, and Sarodin, Isis, and the cat-headed Bast from Egypt. They represent mother figures. The sun. The sun is the source of life. So some of the sun gods are Apollo and his temple of Delphi, Balder in Norse mythology, and they represent father figures. We also have vegetation gods like the Green Man, the Holly King, Dionysus, and Bacchus. Horned gods like Pan became demonized and turned into Satan. We have gods of war like Ares and Mars, and goddesses of love like Aphrodite and Venus. We have gods of the underworld like Hades and Nergal, and goddesses of the underworld like Hecate and Persephone. In all the traditions, there's a forge god like Hephaestus and Vulcan. The gods become partners in spiritual growth and practice. We're going to start with goddesses. So many witchcraft traditions honor a divine feminine. The goddess represents creation, intuition, fertility, the moon, wisdom, and transformation. She appears in countless forms throughout history. Now first I want to talk about one of the ones that I worship, and that is the Morrigan. She's the phantom queen of Celtic mythology. The Morrigan is one of the most fascinating and complex figures in Irish mythology. Her name is translated as Great Queen or Phantom Queen. Rather than being simply a goddess of war, the Morrigan is a goddess of fate, prophecy, sovereignty, transformation, magic, and death and rebirth cycles. The triple goddess. In some myths, the Morrigan appears as part of a trio of sisters, Babd, Macha, and Anu. Because of this, many pagans view her as the triple goddess, though the ancient stories are not always consistent. But in Irish legend, she had a connection to ravens and crows. The ravens were seen on the battlefield after conflicts. Because of this, the Morrigan became associated with prophecy, fate, and messages from the otherworld. The raven wasn't necessarily a symbol of evil. Instead, it represented wisdom and the mysterious forces that shape destiny. The Morrigan is most famous for appearing as a raven or a crow. The Morrigan is a great subject because it demonstrates how ancient goddesses were often far more complex than the simple labels of good or evil. She embodies change, personal power, prophecy, and the mysteries of fate, making her one of the most respected deities in modern Celtic-inspired witchcraft. Up next, we have Hecate, one of the most beloved goddesses in modern witchcraft. She's a goddess of witchcraft and the crossroads. She's the keeper of keys to guide witches. Witches will often call upon Hecate for protection and spiritual work and magical knowledge. She carries torches to illuminate hidden truths. The Roman counterpart is Diana. Diana is the goddess of the moon, the wilderness, and hunting. Many witches view Diana as the protector of women and practitioners of magic. In Greek, we have Artemis. Artemis represents freedom, nature, and wild places, and sacred animals. She's honored by green witches and nature-based practitioners. Brigid is the Celtic goddess associated with healing, poetry, inspiration, the sacred fire. She remains one of the most important deities in Celtic paganism. We also have Ceredian, the Welsh goddess of transformation, wisdom, inspiration, and magical knowledge. Her sacred cauldron symbolizes spiritual rebirth. In the Norse, we have Freyja. Freyja is the goddess of love, beauty, magic, and prophecy. She was said to teach magical arts, even to the gods themselves. She is strongly associated with the Seidr, one of the Norse magic. Now we have the god. Many traditions also honor a divine masculine. The god represents protection, vitality, leadership, sacrifice, and the wild forces of nature. One of the main gods I wanted to talk about was Lu, the Shining One of Celtic mythology. Now, Lu is one of the most important gods in Irish mythology. He's a member of the legendary Thoth and Odin, a supernatural race said to have ruled Ireland before the coming of humans. Lu is also called Lu of the Strong Arm, the Shining One, the master of all arts, and the many-skilled god. Unlike gods who rule over a single domain, Lu embodies excellence in every skill, like warfare, craftsmanship, poetry, music, magic, and strategy. Now, Lu wielded one of the most legendary treasures of the Thoth and Odin, the Spear of Lu. The spear was said to be impossible to resist, unfailing in battle, and so eager for combat that it had to be restrained when not in use. Lu is best known for defeating his grandfather, Balor. Now, Balor was a giant king of the Formans, whose destructive eye could kill entire armies. A prophecy foretold that Balor would be killed by his grandson during the great battle of Magtured. Lu hurled a stone through Baldur's evil eye, killing him and helping secure victory for the Thoth and Odin. This myth symbolizes wisdom and overcoming tyranny, light and overcoming the darkness, and skill overcoming brute force. Although he wasn't strictly a sun god, Lu is associated with light, inspiration. Many scholars believe he may preserve aspects of an older Celtic solar deity. His name is related to the brightness and shining qualities, which is why many modern pagans connect him to solar energy. Now we have Lughnasadh, which is Lu's festival. One of the 8 Sabbats celebrated by modern pagans and witches is Lughnasadh, observed on August 1st. It marks the first harvest, gratitude for abundance, community gatherings, and athletic competitions, and also craftsmanship and skill. Now, according to tradition, Lu established the festival in honor of his foster mother, Taliatu, who died after clearing the land for agriculture. Now, Lu teaches us that true power comes not from domination, but from developing your gifts and using them wisely. Lu is an excellent figure because he represents the ideal of a wise practitioner, someone who seeks knowledge and hones their talents and uses those abilities to improve both themselves and the world around them. His story connects beautifully to the themes of learning, magic, and the pursuit of wisdom. Let's talk about Cernunnos, a horned god. He was the lord of forests, wildlife, abundance, and the cycle of life and death. He's one of the most recognizable figures in modern witchcraft. We also have Pan, the Greek god of the wilderness, music, nature spirits. Pan embodies untamed natural energy. Another one of my favorites here is Odin, the Allfather of Norse mythology. He's the god of wisdom, magic, the runes, and knowledge. Odin sacrificed greatly to obtain the magical wisdom. Many magical practitioners honor him for his insight and learning. Another one we're all familiar with is Thor, the god of thunder, strength, and protection. Thor is often invoked for courage and defense. We also have the Dagda, a Celtic god associated with abundance, fertility, wisdom, and often is called the good god. Some other stuff I want to talk about here was the Oak King and the Holly King. Now, the Oak King and the Holly King are figures found in modern pagan and Wiccan traditions. They represent eternal cycle of the seasons, the waxing and waning of the sun's power, and the balance between light and darkness. While the exact story as told today is largely a modern synthesis rather than ancient Celtic myth, it draws inspiration from Celtic folklore, sacred trees, and seasonal symbolism. The 2 kings, the Oak King, is associated with growth, light, expansion, summer, and the waxing year. The Oak King was sacred to many Celtic people and symbolized strength, wisdom, and endurance. The Oak King rules during the part of the year when daylight is increasing. The Holly King is associated with rest, reflection, the winter, and mysteries. The waning year, the holly remains green throughout winter, making it a symbol of endurance and survival during the darker months. The Holly King rules during the part of the year when the daylight is decreasing. The most common version of the story tells 2 yearly battles. At Yule, the winter solstice, the Oak King defeats the Holly King. The longest night has passed, and daylight begins to increase. The sun is reborn. The Oak King takes the throne. At Midsummer Litha, the Holly King defeats the Oak King. The longest day has passed, and darkness begins to grow. The Holly King takes the throne. Neither one dies forever. They just exchange rulership in an endless cycle. It reflects teachings like life, death, and rebirth. The Triple Goddess. Many witches honor a triple goddess in 3 forms. The Maiden, youth, for new beginnings. The Mother, creation and nurturing. And the Crone, for wisdom and transformation. The 3 different aspects reflect the cycles of life and nature. Why the gods matter today? The gods continue to inspire modern witches because they embody timeless truths. Whether viewed as literal beings, powerful archetypes, or spiritual forces, the gods connect us to ancient traditions stretching back thousands of years. They remind us that witchcraft is not simply about spells, it's about a relationship with nature and with spirit. We do not bow our heads to the gods, we work with them. We don't bow our heads waiting for an answer. Worshipping them is inviting them into our life and acknowledging their existence. So who are the gods? Perhaps they are ancient powers. Perhaps they are living spirits. Maybe they are reflections of forces already within us. Whatever you believe, the gods have shaped the history of witchcraft, paganism, and spirituality for thousands of years, and their stories continue to inspire witches around the world today. Until next time. So this is Temple of the Owl. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Talking about the gods. I think I might do a part 2 on this because there's a lot more. We could talk about some ancient gods, like the older gods, the Egyptian gods. I didn't put them in here because it's kind of too much. So maybe we'll go back and do a part 2 with the ancient gods. But I want to thank you guys for listening. Let me know what you guys want. If you guys have any ideas, anything you guys want to talk about. And we're even in the works talking about doing some live shows here coming up too. So that's going to be fun. Stick around. We got more episodes coming up. Like I said, every Monday at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We're on YouTube, Spotify, of course, templeoftheowl.com. And also KUAP Digital Broadcasting, the Troubled Minds Radio Network. Well, I want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening to the Temple of the Owl. This is Matt's Owl, releasing the spirit of the owl. Until next time, blessed be.